Hello and welcome to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. My name is Julie Hoglin and I am the creator and founder. This podcast covers every aspect of conscious leadership and the Conscious Leadership Code. And if there is a particular example or angle or subject you would like an episode on, please reach out and let me know and I will create it specifically for you. Interpretations of quotes by Albert Einstein. And why this episode now? Because I am writing 2 books. One work entitled Wealth Beyond Money with Emmanuel Ezekiel, and one work entitled Success Thinking by myself. And as part of those books, I am looking at quotes by famous people. And I have got quotes on leadership, personal development and change that are attributed to Albert Einstein. And I thought to share a few of them and then to share my thoughts around why these quotes are so important for you as the individual you are, for the individual you are with your business, within your family, across everything within your life. So let's have a look at the ones that I've chosen for leadership. And of course Einstein has a lot of quotes, and believe it or not, the insanity one is not within this list. So let's have a look at quote 1. Setting an example is not the main means of influencing another, it is the only means. So what's my interpretation of that? Whatever you do, however you do it, whether it's talking or behaving, actions, people will look to you, assess what you are doing, and you will either influence them positively or negatively. They will either follow you and copy you or not. So think about that. What people see, what people hear, what people witness creates your credibility, creates your reputation, creates the influence that you have out into the world. Now, this is for anybody at any age. So why do I say this? Because yesterday I was with a very young person, less than 6 months old, and I watched that very young person follow the lead of another person that was in the room, and it was to do with banging a drum, so it was all good. And I thought at the age of 6 months, and I know it is before that, we are influenced by those around us. So what example are you setting? What example do you want to set, and are you setting it? So that's number 1. Number 2, the world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking, which is true. So the second book I'm writing is Success Thinking. The first book is Wealth Beyond Money. Think about it. Everything that is in your life currently is as a result of your thinking, because your thinking drives your actions. Now, of course, it is a lot deeper than that, because it comes from your values, it comes from your core being, it comes from your belief system. But it comes through various layers. I'm creating a program on this at the moment, linked to the Conscious Leadership Code, which is part of a program I'm recording, which is linked to the leadership voice. We're all leaders in our own world. How well we lead is a choice. But everything you do, everything you are, everything you have, everything you be, everything you design to be, you wish to be, is a process of your thinking. So if you want to do something differently, change your thinking, change your life, change your result. So let's have a look at personal development. A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. And this is absolutely key. If you are so afraid of making a mistake, how are you going to grow and develop? How are you going to have those conversations that are required to be had when you want to do something different? Now, that conversation could be with yourself, internal. It could be with your partner. It could be with your family. It could be with your business associates. It could be with your boss. It could be with anybody. But if you are so scared of making a mistake that you never try anything new, how will you ever grow? The key with this one is you give it a go, you make a mistake, you learn from the mistake. And there's another quote, I think again it's by Einstein, that says, once is a mistake, twice is a habit. So think about that one. And then personal development, a second one I'll share with you. Intellectual growth should commence at birth and cease only at death. So think about that. And I was with a 6-month-old child, less than 6 months old yesterday. They were already commencing their intellectual growth. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that my intellectual growth will only die the day I die. Constantly upgrading, constantly learning, currently learning about brainwaves and how they affect us. Or I say brainwaves and how they affect us, how we use our brainwaves. So think about all the development within the world, within society, currently learning about AI and what we can do and what we can't do. We cannot allow ourselves to be left behind. That's my belief. Because I don't want to be that person who can't do something or know something in 5 years that I could have learned now. Part of me is just like, no, I'm not going to get left behind. I've seen too many incidences where people who have a job, or actually some of them work for themselves, but they're not keeping up with the growth of technology, they're not keeping up with the growth of society, and they're falling behind. So the potential for them to grow when you do not expose yourself to change on a regular basis, there is so much change that it can become very daunting to then, where do I start? There's so much to learn. Where do I start? So personal development, again, I'm going to share this one. This is a very well-known one, or certainly is in my world. Everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So think about this. This is about working to your strengths. This is about working to your strengths, knowing what you are not so good at. And I don't like the word weaknesses, but I will use it. Work to your strengths, know what your weaknesses are. You've got two choices. Work to your strengths, employ people that will do what you're not so good at. Work to your strengths, develop your weaknesses. Absolutely up to you. A lot of that, when we're thinking about leadership, personal development, is how much money you have, what investment you can make in employing people to support you. Now, it doesn't have to be on a full-time basis. It can be, part-time, VAs, PAs, etc. But think about, you are your own genius. You are your own gold. How are you harnessing that genius and gold? And do not let anybody judge you or let you judge yourself as though you are a fish trying to climb a tree. Doesn't work. You can't compare you to anybody else because you are unique in your own right. So let's have a look at, so that's a bit about personal development and a bit about change. So let's have a look at change. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. And there's a quote by Darwin on this. Actually, it's very similar. It's not the intelligence of a species that allows it to survive. It's the capacity for the species to change that allows them to survive. It's not the strongest that survives. It's the capacity of change that allows people to survive. So really think about this. Change is really, really, really important. I cannot express enough how the ability to change, to be comfortable with change, to know that you need to change is so, so, so important. You know, within life, within work, within business, within relationships, that continuous growth means you are continuously changing. And I can absolutely 100% say that who I was a year ago is not who I am today. Who I was 5 years ago is definitely not who I am today. Who I was 10 years ago is a million miles away from who I am today. Fundamentally, I know who I am. Fundamentally, that doesn't mean I become an arsehole or, you know, a really nasty person. Fundamentally, my principles are the same. You know, I have compassion. I am honest. You know, I walk the talk. Fundamentally, my principles are the same. Maybe how I express them is different because my knowledge has increased. So I would not have completed this episode on a podcast 5 years ago. A, I wouldn't have had a podcast. B, I didn't know podcasts existed. And would anybody have invited me on a podcast 5 years ago? Probably. But because I didn't know they existed, then I didn't put myself out there to be on them. So, you know, think about this change because it opens up opportunities. And the final one I want to leave you with, there's so much going on in the world at the moment. So much going on in the world at the moment. I just want to leave you with this one. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. So when we're talking about leadership, when we're talking about change, when we're talking about personal development, we have to be willing, we have to be able, in whatever capacity that is for us. That can be within a family, it can be within a friendship group, it can be within a business meeting, you know, it could be from you on stage, you know, linked to whoever you are and whatever you're doing. When we see something that is not right, it could be illegal, or it could be against a value or a principle, or, you know, something you hold really dear. There has to be a capacity within you to express your opinion. There has to be a capacity within you to challenge the status quo. It's all part of leadership. And this whole podcast is around conscious leadership. The program I'm creating at the moment is the Leadership Voice. It will teach you how to stand out. It will teach you how to express yourself. And when I say stand out, that doesn't mean you've got to get on your soapbox and bang the desk and, you know, be up at Speaker's Corner if you're in the UK. What it means is that you have a voice. You can express your voice in a manner that allows people to hear you, that allows people to not dismiss what you say, that allows people to understand the point that you're making, because you make it in such a way that they cannot deny it. And that is the leadership voice. So this is a relatively short episode linked to Albert Einstein with my interpretation of some of his quotes into the 21st century. If you want to contact me, if you want to know any more about this, if you want to look at the programs I'm creating, hop over to juliehogbin.com. I have spent years, literally years, going round in circles about brand, whether it's product, personal, business. So I'm now juliehogbin.com. I am me. People listen to what I want to say or they don't. Absolutely your choice. You're listening to this podcast episode, so you're listening to me. There's loads of articles on the website. There's going to be a load more going on. There are going to be programs currently being recorded that will be up there. Some will be for free. Some will be for a payment of some description. Whatever that ends up looking. There'll be a membership site at some point, which will be, I'm going to say, low cost, so you can get in there and access it, or you can just buy the program. There'll be a choice, because I am getting my message out to all, regardless of whether they have the facility to pay a huge amount of money for it or not. You know, part of what I do is I do philanthropic activities part of what I learned many years ago. I believe in giving, I believe in karma, I believe in helping everyone that needs help at whatever level that is. So a percentage of what I earn does go to charity in one format or another, whether it be, in one format or another. I was going to say whether it be humans or animals, it doesn't really matter. So am I saving the planet, or am I, providing books for children who are less fortunate and not to have those? I do both. And of course work with adults and all sorts of other stuff. Anyway, now I'm rambling. So a relatively short episode with just some of my thoughts. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Conscious Leadership Podcast. And if you have found it useful, please leave a review. And if you have found it useful, please share it with others that will find it useful as well. If you want to know more about my publishing, please follow me through to the Amazon author page. And if you would like to follow me on any of my other social media channels, please do, which also includes a YouTube channel.